Hello friends, what is really a leftover woman? Today I'm going to explain it to you. So leftover woman is a Chinese term, means a woman who is over 27 years old but unmarried. There are many women who are too old to get married, or they are divorced and nobody wants to marry them. So the problem is that there are more and more leftover women in China and became already a social problem. But recent years, people talk less and less about it. Is the problem disappearing? Then you will know later. Okay, this leftover woman in Chinese, 剩女, is a very negative word. A woman's value is related to her marriage situation. No matter how much she achieved in other aspects in her life, as long as she reached certain age, then she is regarded as leftover and abandoned, and people look down on them. So it shows a kind of discrimination against women in the Chinese marriage market. Men and women are unequal. Women are like a fruit in the market. When they are young and fresh, there are many people are willing to pay high price to buy them. But when they are after 27 and suddenly they are left over and not fresh anymore, so people don't want to buy them anymore. And in old time, men always prefer younger girls, right? Now I observe it very clearly because, when I was 22, 23 years old, and there are many boys who wanted me to be their girlfriend. But a few years later, I became the bigger sister, older sister, and the boys were not around me anymore. They were around the younger sister in the office. But men don't have this problem. They can get older and they are more mature and successful in career and then become golden bachelor and everybody like them. So this very negative attitude against women came from last generation, and this negative attitude of last generation came from their last generation. There is a tradition. I give you an example. The mother of one of my friends, she was regarded as a typical leftover woman in her parents' eyes, although back then this word leftover woman didn't exist yet. So she got married at 28, but when she was young, she was very picky and she didn't like any guy who wanted to marry her. But when she was about 27 and suddenly she became the burden of family, and the whole family complained about that, and she suddenly became very anxious. And that's why when she saw an advertisement, marriage advertisement on newspaper, and she immediately answered it, and she looked at the guy looked okay and he had a good job, and then soon later they get married. That's how she met her husband. So you see, in China, many marriages are similar, like they are not based on very solid foundation of relationship. And when women get to a certain age, they are anxious and they can quickly get married. I know many couples and they get married even less than a year after they met, so it's very quick. So the pressure mostly comes from your family in the last generation. If you didn't get married at a certain age, they just see you as the thorn in the flesh, pain in the ass. And in the Spring Festival, which is a very important moment that people celebrate together with the family, and they will criticize you in front of all the people, and that's why many people don't want to go home to meet their parents and their families. And also, where the pressure come from the society, that they invent this name leftover woman to call you this, and it's very not nice to hear that I am leftover woman, nobody wants me, right? Oh, and other pressure is that you just give yourself this pressure because when you see that or your peer, your friend, they get married one after the other. And when you see that the girl who is not as beautiful as you, who is not as smart as you, not as successful as you, but have a husband, then you will be jealous of it, no? And you think, oh my god, so unfair. Why? Where's my husband? When I can have a husband? And I was very deeply influenced by this kind of idea. 10 years ago, I had my life plan that I want to have a child a little bit later than in general at 28, and I will get married before that. But when I was 26, I still didn't get a proper boyfriend, a candidate for husband, and I knew that this plan cannot be fulfilled. But I was not worried so much, and I was not ready for marriage. I think I would like to flirt with more people, and maybe in the future I can find a better person, perfect person. And I could never imagine that I will be left over because I am such an excellent woman. So the reality is like this. The young women, they were very picky when they are young, and they don't rush into making any decision. They choose men. But when they reach certain age and they want to get married, and then it's men's turn to choose woman. And the older woman gets, the less competitive they are. They have less choice. So there are more men than women. There are more single men than single women in China. But why there are still a lot of leftover women, and correspondingly there are more leftover men? Because the single men who are left, they came from the lower part of society. No, and the leftover women we talk about, often they have high income and high education. With the development of society, and women get more opportunity, and they are more independent. They have plenty of time to develop themselves, to focus on their career, to achieve bigger achievement, and they have a lot of hobbies, and they want to marry a guy who have better condition than them or equal. And the men also, they prefer to marry a woman who doesn't have as good condition as them, because somehow the social position determine the position in family. So there are not enough of best men to match the best woman. So in the end, the best woman with high income, high education are left. And also the worst men who have low education, little income in countryside are left, and these two groups can never match. They are not compatible. So in the end, what leftover woman can do to find a husband, or can say what are their outcomes? There are a few options. The first one, they keep on waiting for the best guy they like, they expect it to happen. But the possibility could be very little. And the second is that they just marry somebody who is not as good, lower their expectation. Or in this case, if they marry somebody, for example, who earn little money, then they will have mental and financial pressure, and they will be very tired in their lives. Okay. The other option, marry somebody younger. But if the difference of age will be very big, then I doubt the marriage will be very happy, because I suppose that the younger guy, sooner or later, he will find himself a younger girlfriend, mistress, something. Or you can marry a foreigner. But the foreigner is always not the first choice for Chinese people. The last option is that stay single, don't get married. But people now more and more find that they are fine to be alone, because they are independent, they can comfort themselves by attracted by other things, that they don't need men by saying this. But when we find that the woman who have a child live a happier life than the woman who doesn't have a child. With a child, the woman think there is a hope in the future and there is somebody to take care of, and they will not die alone, they will not be alone, right? So there are more and more women who don't want to get married but want to have a child, so they go to find a man or find a sperm and create a child and raise alone. So there's also an option. So it's interesting. So talking about a woman with a child, and there are big of women who are leftover women who are divorced or divorced with children. This group are even more discriminated. Divorce in old time is really bad thing, that if a woman divorces, and basically her whole life is ruined. But nowadays divorce become more and more normal and common, and more people divorce. But if you divorce and people don't want to marry you, don't want you anymore, they may think that, oh, you're divorced, maybe you have a problem. And especially the woman who have a child, and the guy doesn't want to raise a child of other person. They want to have their own child, but they don't want a child from other person. They think that, oh, I make so much effort, I work so much to earn money, but in the end, this child, I raise a child, it belongs to other people. So they don't feel safe. Imagine that there are so many single people in the society that they cannot find a partner, they cannot get married, so they cannot complete the mission of their life. So there's no hope, and they are very unhappy, and there are less and less newborn babies. So it is a huge social problem. So maybe now we can talk about why there are more men than women in China. So because traditionally people prefer boys than girls, and we have a one-child policy. In order to get a boy, they can keep a girl. When I was in university, I still see a huge propaganda written on the wall that it's forbidden to kill baby girls. I didn't know that this type of thing can happen. Like in 21st century, come on. I was so shocked, and it's so common in countryside. People just drown their baby girls in water. Oh my god, that's horrible. The thing is that we come back to leftover woman. This leftover woman definition is a definition from many years ago. I think nowadays people have a little bit different understanding about this word. 27 years old, they still think it's still young. And 30, okay, you can work on it and you might find a husband. But 35, you should really worry about it, because you don't have much choice left to do. And 40 years old, still single, basically you are leftover woman. Nobody wants you. You are sentenced to death. So you see that the age are postponed a little bit, and there are more and more leftover women. So people don't think it's an urgent problem. So maybe you will see that the problem seems disappearing, but actually not. So the problem is still here, and many people still want to get married, but many people already say, oh, I don't care, I can be single and fine. But the bigger problem nowadays is that there are more and more young people don't want to get married at all. And this is a very serious problem, and we're going to talk about it in the future. There's one thing I want to tell you. This is interesting idea that people have now. Since there are so many leftover women, so there are so many leftover men, and how can those leftover men find a wife? So one choice that they just go to find a wife in some poor countries, poor places like Africa, like Southeastern Asia, and very horrible problem that I heard, that people kidnap women, people buy women somewhere. But I didn't see this by my own eyes, but I know it exists. So there are a lot of problems related to marriage. Okay, maybe today we just say that much. It's a lot already. It's very heavy topic, and I hope that you don't get lost. So, and I hope that you enjoy today's video. So, please give your comment in below and like our video and subscribe. Okay, bye bye.